Hello everyone, I am Anubhav from IIT VHU and today I'll talk about exergy, which is a very interesting topic in thermodynamics. So this is the outline. I'll first start with explaining what is exergy and how to define a dead state. I will also talk about reversible work and irreversibility. Then I will take some example and define what do we mean by second law of efficiency. Then for exergy, we will look at how to define exergy for a closed and open system. And finally, we will have a introduction to Gauss-Todola theorem. So before we go to formal definitions, what is exergy, reversibility, all that. Before all that, we will just start with some examples. So let us say that I have a block of metal at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, and so basically it has some energy, right? Now how do I utilize that energy? And let us say it is in a room where the surrounding air is at 30 degrees Celsius. Now the question is, how do I know that this block has some energy. How do I extract that energy to use to make some useful work? So what I can do is, I can use this box, I can use this block as a heat source, and I can use this atmosphere, surrounding air, as a heat sink, and I can devise a heat pump which will generate some work, right? Now the heat pump will generate work, heat engine. The heat engine will generate work. It will act between these two temperatures. Now after some time, the block will reach to the room temperature, it will get cooled down, then no work is possible. Okay, the heat engine cannot work with bodies of same temperature, right? So what we see here is that if I have a block, I can use it, I can use that block to create a heat engine which will produce work. Now we have a block which has reached 30 degrees Celsius. So does all the energy is finished inside it, or in other words, cannot I use it to do more work? Let us make some change. Let us say that instead of a warm weather where we have a room temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, let us take that block to a cold weather where, let's say, the room temperature is minus 20 degrees Celsius, any hill station, okay, or near the poles. So now can we extract any work? Let us have a look. So again I create one heat engine. So this will act like a source, 30 degrees Celsius, and sink is at minus 20 degrees Celsius. So there is some temperature difference between the block and the surrounding air in the room. So that can be used again to run this heat engine and produce some work. Similarly, after some time the temperature of the block will drop down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. It will come in equilibrium with the surrounding air, and then we cannot extract any amount of work. So what we see from these examples is that how much work we can extract from our system or from our body does not depend only on this. It also depends what is the surrounding temperature. So let us explore this a bit in detail. So what I mentioned just now, that amount of useful work that can be obtained depends both on the system as well as surroundings, state of the systems and surroundings. And if we want to extract maximum possible work from a system, so what we need to do is, we need to make sure that it undergoes a reversible process from initial to final conditions. Okay. And the second requirement is that the final state is in equilibrium with its surrounding. Okay, so this is called dead state, or we can define a system is said to be in the dead state when it is under thermodynamic equilibrium with its environment. So what do we mean by that? It will be at the same temperature and pressure with the environment, what we saw in previous examples. So now let us define exergy. So exergy, we can say that the useful work potential of a given amount of energy at a specified state is called exergy. Okay, it is also referred as availability or available energy. How much energy you can extract from a system with a given surrounding. So it does not, let us make some points about exergy. So exergy does not specify the actual work a device will produce. Okay, it just gives the maximum or upper limit how much work can be extracted without violating any laws of thermodynamics. Okay, and the actual work will obviously will be less than or equal to exergy. So if you have any losses, the actual work will get reduced. If you don't have any losses, then the actual work will be equal to exergy. So now let us look at some examples. How do we define exergy for different systems? So let's say I have a mass of water, okay, and it is at some height z. So basically I am talking about potential energy. Now for potential energy I can say that what is the maximum work I can obtain? That will be mgh or m dot gh, defining by the rate. So when we talk about exergy, and especially in per unit mass term, certain small x, exergy is denoted by capital X, but when we are talking about intensive property or exergy per unit mass, I write small x. So small x for a potential energy or exergy for a potential energy is Gz. Okay, same as potential energy. Similarly for kinetic energy, so if I have air moving at some speed v and we want to take advantage of this kinetic energy and produce some work using a windmill. So exergy will be again equal to v square by 2. So if you so this is again talking about per unit mass. If you talk about mass, then it will be mv square by 2. Okay. Another interesting aspect is when we are doing any work, especially displacement work. So the system expands and it pushes this atmospheric air also, which comes into its path. Okay, it pushes its atmospheric air which comes on the way. So it has to spend some amount of work to push this air. Okay, and that is called surrounding work, which gets deducted from actual work, which is, this is not useful, right? We are not much bothered about what you are making at the system. We are not much bothered about what is happening to the surrounding. We are mainly concerned about the system. Anyway, what work is done here, that is anyway lost. So we say that the useful work is work done minus work done to the surrounding. Okay. Now for other devices where, for example, rigid tanks or constant volume devices, there is no work lost to the surrounding. This is only for displacement work where we need to push air from the way of the piston. Okay. Now we'll talk about reversible work. Okay, so reversible work is defined as the maximum amount of useful work that can be produced as a system undergoes a process between the given initial and final states. So if you know what are the initial and final states, and if you follow a reversible path, that will give you reversible work. And when we are talking about the another device which takes work, so the minimum work that needs to be supplied is reversible work. So you can understand it by looking at work produced by a heat engine, and this phrase inside the bracket, it refers to heat pump when we consume work. Okay, now any difference between reversible work and useful work is due to irreversibility. There are some losses, okay, and this difference is called irreversibility. Irreversibility is basically equal to exergy that is destroyed. So we have some exergy which can be used, which could have been used for getting some useful work, but that is destroyed and it becomes irreversible. So I can write, this is I can be used to denote irreversibility. I is equal to reversible work minus useful work. Now in general, for work producing device, reversible work will be always more than or equal to useful work. So irreversibility will be more than or equal to 0. So if we have a perfectly reversible process, then I is equal to 0. But if any irreversibilities are involved, then this will be more than 0. Moving on, let us discuss about efficiency. So we have discussed some efficiency when we talked about first and second law. Let us look at them in a different perspective. So let us say we have two heat engines, A and B, okay, and basically we are concerned with actual performance. So let's say that this heat engines have efficiency of 40% and 50%. So this is for A, actual efficiency for heat engine A. Similarly, actual efficiency, actual practical or what you observe for B. So 40% and 50%. Which one looks better? So before you arrive at some conclusion, let us wait for a moment and take a closer look. So if you use the efficiency what we have defined previously, 1 minus T2 by T1. So for a reversible heat engine, we should get efficiency for A as 50%, and if suppose B was running on a reversible cycle, efficiency will be equal to 75%. So what we see here is that actual heat engine A running on actual cycle gives 40% efficiency, while if it was running on a reversible cycle, it will give 50% efficiency. Similarly, B, actually or practically B is giving 50% efficiency, but if B was running on a reversible cycle, it will give 75% efficiency. So now you need to rethink which one is better. Let us discuss this in more detail. So we can also define second law efficiency. So which says this is the second law efficiency, which is actual efficiency divided by reversible efficiency. So if you look at A and B now, so the second law efficiency for heat engine A is 40 by 50, which is 80%, while for heat engine B, we know that actually it is giving 50%, but reversible for a reversible engine it will produce 75%. So if I divide this, I get 66%. So clearly we see that A is a more preferred or better engine. Although it has a lower efficiency, the actual efficiency is lower, still A is better because it has a higher second law efficiency. Okay. It is so basically whatever potential it has to do work, it is trying to match its potential, while B is sort of underperforming. So the second law of efficiency can also be defined as useful work divided by reversible work. And for refrigerators and heat pumps where we consume work, we can say that second law of efficiency is CUP of the actual engine divided by reversible heat pump. And there are different ways. We can also say that second law of efficiency is equal to exergy recovered by expended. Okay, so here we see that, or 1 minus exergy destroyed by exergy expended. So these are the different ways to express second law efficiency. Now let us talk about how we define exergy for a closed and open system. So starting with closed system, so this is a piston cylinder arrangement. Initially, let us say we have at temperature P and T, and the surrounding is at P0. So let us denote the surrounding properties by P0. So exergy will be defined when we use all of this potential and the system comes to dead state, or it comes to equilibrium with the environment surrounding. So the pressure will fall to P0 and temperature will reach T0. So for this system, exergy can be defined as this internal energy term. So basically this is what we have. We can go as low as U naught, which is corresponds to T naught. Similarly, displacement work, again this U naught, V naught and S naught refer to the properties for surrounding. Okay, so exergy is the sum of various terms which include internal energy, displacement work, and this is called exergy destruction by heat loss. Okay, now we generally talk about delta X. What is the change in exergy? So let us say we have two states, 2 and 1. So delta X will be the difference between them. So capital X will define exergy, and when we talk about closed system, we'll define intensive exergy as this phi. So delta X can be defined, again a small variation of this. So we are basically not going to the dead state, we are just accounting for change from 2 to 1. And if we write per unit mass basis, we can say that delta phi or phi, we are using it for closed system. For open system, we will have another symbol Z. So delta phi is phi2 minus phi1, which is equal to delta U, V naught delta V, and minus T naught delta S. Now let us look at an open system. So this is the intensive symbol for intensive exergy for open system. So what is the change here? That we also need to consider flow work. So it is similar to what we have discussed in the previous slide for this open system. Now for instead of U, we need to consider H. This will consider your flow work. T naught delta S was there similar to what was there in the last slide for closed system. Now these are the two new terms. So for open system, we also will talk about kinetic energy term and potential energy term, which we neglected for closed system. So if we talk about delta C, again it will be the difference between state 2 and state 1. So this again will take delta H, T naught delta S accounting for exergy destruction by heat loss, kinetic energy term, and potential energy term. So with that we come to another topic, Gauss-Strudel theorem. So remember we define irreversibility as reversible work minus useful work. So we can say that this is basically what is lost. What work is lost is the irreversibility, or I can define in rate term that rate of irreversibility generation is equal to rate of lost work. So which can also be written as, I am not going into the detailed derivation, but this is what it says, that W lost can be written as T naught delta S of universe, and deltas of universe is basically, we can say that as gen, what we discussed when we talked about the second law. This is the entropy generation because of that process or cycle. So this is the Gauss-Strudel theorem. It says that entropy generation, irreversibility generation is equal to T naught into S dot gen. So basically from Gauss-Strudel theorem we can say that a thermodynamically efficient system or process, it will have minimum exergy loss and minimum entropy generation. Okay, so this will be minimum, and again because of that exergy will be also, the loss of exergy will also be less. With that we look at the references. So I have taken some images from Sengen and Moll's book, and you can also refer to books by Bognac and Sontag and Piekenaar. So with that I stop here. Thank you for listening to it patiently.